We are live. It's been a while since we've been live. So I thought I should probably go on YouTube. There are probably people that have questions from the elite members group. Um, so we got some dog questions to answer. And I got a little bit of time, so let's talk dogs. I like talking dogs. I like all things dog. It's kind of my business. New things that are going on here. We have a Woodstock location. So those of you in Ontario, Woodstock, Ontario, we are opening up a brand new location. The construction was just completed tonight, and next week that location will be fully available for service. So we're really excited about that. I'm going to take you guys out there, and I'm actually going to show you guys that location. So we'll put that in a video. Um, I have a Toronto location now. That should be done in about a week. And yeah, so that's pretty exciting. We have the Toronto location going. Hey guys, how's it going? Elevated Kennel says, "What's up, man? I like your program. Definitely one of the best handlers I've seen supporting from Waynesville, North Carolina. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate the support." Um, Searle Arnold asks, "Is Bolo going to be up for sale?" Bolo's one of our herder puppies. Yes, he is going to be up for sale. Um, what's your Cactus Carlos asks, "What's your take on the VO Shepherd? Those 100 pound, what is it? Soviet, sorry, it just moved. 100 pound Soviet developed Eastern European Shepherd." Listen, guys, every time I turn around, somebody's making up a new name for, German Shepherds and basically trying to market them. You're probably just talking about oversized dogs that somebody's shilling in Europe. There's no VO Shepherd. There's nothing like that. You're just, unfortunately, people are just getting taken for a ride. That's all it is, right? If you want a German Shepherd for work, you buy a working line German Shepherd. The locality of the dog, you know, people still don't get it. The locality of the dog is not important. Where the dog was born does not make it better or worse. Okay? The dog I have right now, so I have two dogs. One of the dogs born bred here, and he's out of my last male Onyx, who was born and bred here. Okay? And both nice dogs. And then I imported a Czech dog who's my backup competition dog right now, but he's not Czech. You understand? His daddy is actually now in America. So you can buy a half brother to my dog. What's his name? Yaxie. You can buy Yaxie, a half brother or half sister to Yaxie. His daddy, Knox von Tallhaus, who is a German dog, by the way, is in the United States right now. Right? The lines are here. The location of the dog doesn't make it, but there's no more Soviet. Soviet's been done for decades, okay? And the Soviet dogs weren't all they were cracked up to be, anyways, right? You should listen to the people that actually work with the Soviet dogs, like serious working people, people that really compete and really did. Who did a really good podcast on it? Balabanov did a really good podcast on it, where he was talking to a German police canine trainer, and they were talking about how when the wall fell, these dogs were not what they thought that they were going to be. They were not. They did not live up to the hype. So stop with this. It's not. It doesn't matter. Nobody says, oh, there's no serious working canine person or sport competitor that says, I need a dog that's all check lines, or I need a dog that's born in Eastern Europe. Nobody gives a crap. You just want the best working dog, period, dot. Um, okay, where did I go before I went off on that little tangent? I'm finally able to go over to Slovakia and pick up my new IGP dog. Nice. Awesome. Have you ever met a well-bred West German Showline? What does that mean? Like the standards for West German Showline are for West German Showline. These are dogs that need to be, successful in the show ring. So that's the standard. So I'm sure I've seen many of them. I've owned a few show lines actually. I have imported a couple of them. A car pulled up. Sorry guys, hold on a second. What? What do they want? Go ask them what they want. Go ask them what they want. Yeah. Car pulled up. Do I need to get the? Oh, I guess I can't say that on YouTube. Gage, get ready. We might need to get active here. It's dark here. Should be no cars pulling up. Um. Okay. Let's see here. I want to. Mohammed asks, "Hey man, if I want a Malinois so bad, but I work most of the day, can I still make it, or is it impossible to meet the needs of exercise for the dog, and are they going to turn up to be destructive?" The answer is yes. I had two Malinois, and oftentimes other working dogs in the house when I was working full-time job for the longest time. And I lived in the suburbs in a townhouse, and I had two Malinois. If you provide the dogs with the structure, with the exercise and the outlets that they need, and know that doesn't involve hours and hours of exercise every day, you're going to do just fine. Um, let's see what else we got here. Is it wrong for me to want to give my dog to someone to get a different dog that fits my lifestyle more? Well, that depends on a couple of things. I would say this, Thomas. Are you truly unhappy with your dog? Does what you want from your dog, is it not something your dog can give you? And are you sure another dog can give you that? And the reason I ask this is because oftentimes I'll see some people, not a lot of people, but some people really going from dog to dog to dog, always looking for something that's not going to be there. And really the problem is with the person, not so much with the dog. But in some cases, it's truly a mismatch. Like the lifestyle, the intended purpose, so on and so forth, it just doesn't work, right? So I would say if you looking at the situation objectively and that dog truly doesn't work for your lifestyle, what you wanted in a dog, and you're not happy, well, then I'm going to assume that the dog's not getting all it could get. So if you can find a good situation for that dog where you can have someone who would appreciate him more, I'm all for it. Anthony, don't stir shit. DDR are the best. um, might be a controversial topic. Can you discuss vaccines for dogs? Just paid 700 for annual checkup and vaccines in Toronto. Wow, my friend. Emmett, you got taken for a little bit of a ride. I know vets are getting increasingly more expensive, but even still, that is horrific. Let's talk about vaccines. So, for me personally, this is my opinion on vaccines as a breeder and as someone who's owned dogs, multiple dogs for many years. Um, I only do puppy shots and I do rabies, and I do rabies annually only because I have to travel often with the dogs and I need the rabies shots. Um, some people recommend it's slipping my mind the name of the shot. It's a shot that basically will protect the dog if it drinks, or the idea, anyways, is that it will protect the dog if it drinks tainted water. But I mean, look, my dogs drink from puddles and just about everywhere they've drunk water. I never really had a problem. I think that really only is a big problem if your dog is immunocompromised. My thing on vaccines is I think we overdo it. I'll speak to one vaccine that I can really speak to. So the parvo vaccine for sure, I know for sure it works. I've seen it work. I've seen it work very well. So for me, as soon as I can vaccinate puppies, I do believe in those core vaccines. I will do them, but I don't repeat vaccines every year. I certainly don't do all like the 5 vaccines or whatever it is every year. Um, I have the kennel cough vaccine currently is completely useless. Even though any dog that comes to train with us here at Shield Canine, I mandate that they take the vaccine. I have never seen one dog prevented from getting kennel cough with the vaccine. I don't even think it really. I mean, you could argue that it makes the intensity of kennel cough less bad, but I certainly don't see it as being all that effective. So I think it's just like anything. There are some good ones and there are some not so useful ones. But if you have a healthy dog with a healthy immune system, it's not a big deal. I've had a dog killed by the rabies shot. My favorite, one of my favorite dogs I've ever owned. His name was Rambo, a little tan Chihuahua. He's one of the dogs you'll see like in way back in the videos, like maybe some of my first videos. And Rambo was killed by the rabies shot. He was older, he had a heart murmur, but he was in good shape. He was active, and we were going to the U.S. And the day before, he was so happy, he's running around. We went, we got him the rabies shot, and all of a sudden, he's literally within a couple hours, he started staggering around. He was doing this with his head, like he couldn't see straight. He was, he had an inflammation basically of the brain. The vet would not admit that it was the vaccine. She kept saying, "Oh, well, he's old." It's like, yeah, I know he's old, but lady, I've got video of this dog running around and playing the day before, and he hasn't had any issues, you know. So just wouldn't admit that it was like the rabies shot. And anyways, unfortunately, Ramo never quite recovered from that. We got him through another year, but he was never the same. His appetite was always up and down. He was on all sorts of medications, and the poor dog probably passed maybe a year or two before his time with that shot. So that's my little spiel on shots. Um, Big fan, dog is off leash from your YouTube videos. Mine is genetically not good, mixed with a lab. Hates other dogs, getting better, but still locks onto them. Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that, Phil. Watching from Michigan, thank you for all the great information you put on your YouTube channel. Just bought a German Shepherd puppy, and your advice has been helping. I'm happy to hear that, Vicky. Thank you very much. Um, Thank you, Pumpkin. Thanks to your videos, he has gotten to the point I can take him in stores. Excellent. Uh, so Eunice, I named my dog after your Onyx, except mine's a black tie Ridgeback. Nice. Nice, Oscar. What else is in the tank? You guys are talking about this tank over here. I have two Oscars in this tank. So I tried a flower horn and a Midas cichlid. For the longest time, the Midas cichlid and the Oscars were getting along. Oh, look, they're fighting now. Can you guys see it? These two guys are getting after it. Then I said, you know what? Let me add a flower horn. So I threw my flower horn in there because I have a really big, beautiful. Wow, he's not that big actually. I have a blue pearl King Campha flower horn. I threw him in there because I really wanted him in the tank too, and it just didn't work. They all turned on each other. It was a bit of a bloodbath, so I separated everybody. So it's just two Oscars in the tank. There's going to be an aquarium expo next weekend, I think. So I'm going to try to get to that, and maybe I'll have some more ideas. Um, let's see here. Hey, has my German Shepherd has great nerve and high prey. Um, when working him civil, he doesn't really bring it like I would like. It's almost like he's looking for a sleeve. Well, Shanice, I need to know more. Are you working your dog? I hope not. I hope you're not doing civil work with your dog. Um, Maddie, Kylie, one of our elite members, what do you think of a Dalmatian pit bull litter would turn out like? I think Dalmatians are some of the biggest assholes I've ever met in dogs, to be honest with you. Strangely enough, you'd think a white spotted dog wouldn't be that bad, but almost every male Dalmatian I've ever trained has been an ass. So, I mean, I would say that, what's the saying now? Everybody says, you know, leave that dog for the streets. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But I would not at all be interested in that at all. What's the best way to join an IGP club? Just call and say you want to learn. Do they expect you to be? They're all different. They're all different. Um, let's see, guys. Lepto, you're right, Jeff. Lepto. That is exactly what we're talking about. Robert Russo says, I tied her for distemper. Yep. Some people do that. Do you think one day we'll have quality working Dobermans? No, I don't. Um, do I do titers to check immunity? I do not. Again, maybe it's one of those things. It's just my thing. I never had any problems. Um, you know, my dogs have always been very, very healthy. Except obviously, like that situation with Rambo, but he was killed by a vaccine. So, Just had two 1 year old sister German Shepherds barely survived parvo. Yeah, parvo's no joke, guys. Like I believe in that vaccination. I've seen it save the puppies, right? Like I've seen a whole litter of puppies get parvo that have been vaccinated and they all survive. And I've seen a litter of puppies get parvo that didn't have vaccinations and like a third of them died. So no. Um, what's the smallest and largest female shepherd you've ever encountered? Well, I probably own both. I've seen a 45-pound female German shepherd, like full grown, and then I've seen female German shepherd that's like 90 pounds. So, is a Kenner Corso more of a This is official convict. Is a Kenner Corso more a deterrent kind of dog, or can they really get down and bite work and personal protection? It's highly dependent on the individual. Generally, if we're speaking in generality, you're more likely to have a deterrent dog, but there are certainly some that can lay down some bite work. How's it going, guys? My dog died from a rabies shot. He was 7 years old. Yeah, and I know other people whose dogs have been killed by rabies shots as well. It's a risk. Um, I own a Malinois mix. Draco. Okay, Angie. I hope you're joking. I own a Malinois mix. This is from Angie. Draco is 60% Malinois, 20% wolf, and 20% husky. He's military trained, and his bite force is stronger than the full blooded Malinois on base, even though some say he's a mutt. Okay. All right. So, Angie and everybody, first of all, let's address this concept of bite force. The only people that talk about bite force are people that don't know anything about working dogs. It really has nothing to do with anything. No one's taking out a PSI meter and judging the quality of the dog based on how much PSIs he's laying out in the bite work. Here's what affects the quality of the bite work. It's not actually the size of the dog or the strength of the dog, it's really the heart of the dog, right? Some of the hardest biting dogs I've ever met, right? The hardest biting dogs I've ever met generally had the strongest mix of genetics and courage that enabled them to bite like that. And I don't consider a dog a hard biting dog unless it can really take a lot of pressure on the grip. There are some dogs, like if you're a compliant and passive decoy, they'll bite you like 110%, but the second you put up a little bit of resistance and put some pressure on the dog, it all goes to garbage. So for those dogs, I unfortunately cannot give them the benefit of calling them, hard biting dogs. But a true the quality of a working dog is not in PSI. Nobody, you'll never see. Okay, so like if you ever get a bunch of canine handlers together, a bunch of competition people together, or a bunch of breeders together, if me and let's say Canine Mike and some other people were all sitting in a room, you would never hear us bring up the PSI of the dog biting. Oh, this dog's biting at 290 and that. Never, ever, ever would that happen because it doesn't freaking matter. Okay? The bite force generated by the dog has a lot to do with what's inside the dog. The other thing, if your dog truly had wolf content, he would be useless as a working dog. It's just that simple. I want you guys to understand this thing about wolves. Wolves are useless for any kind of work because they have a high sense of self preservation. Self preservation is something that we have intentionally bred out of working dogs and many domestic dogs because it's not particularly conducive for the tasks that we need. Wolves have extremely high senses of self preservation because in the wild, even a small injury is literally a death sentence. They have to have a high sense of self preservation. It makes them useless for work because those types of dogs or animals are always looking for the least risky solution to a problem. Okay? So I don't know what military trained means. I don't know what wolf means. Husky, again, if your dog was truly part husky, he would be useless for work. So I would say this. If it's really a working dog, which it doesn't sound like it is, I would highly doubt that that dog is a wolf or a husky mix of any kind. If it is truly a wolf or a husky mix, I assume it's quite a nervous dog, and is certainly not trained to do any kind of dual purpose work. So that's my honest view on it. And speaking of the bite force and the PSI and all that nonsense, nobody cares about that that's serious about working dogs because it's just not a thing. We're looking for the drive and the nervous system of the dog. That's the most important thing. That's what we judge. That's what we look at. Okay. So I know it's like, oh, the Caucasian Ovcharka bites at this level of PSI, and the Rottweiler bites like this. And no, 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 because it's not important. The most important thing is that the dog bites and the dog has commitment in the grip, and the vast majority of dogs, regardless of the breed, struggle with those things. Maria asks, Pamela. Oh, by the way, my puppy will be here tomorrow. Well, Pamela, I'm Pamela's got a male puppy from our last litter, so I hope you like him. I think you're gonna like him a lot. Um, let's see. Do platforms work good for positions? Yes, I use platforms often when I'm working on position. What's your opinion on American Sentinel Canine if you're ever around? Don't know who that is or what that is. Sorry, guys, I'm just going through the questions. Elite member, my mom has a 6-month-old staff bull mastiff boxer cross. Wow. And when I asked her how training was going, she literally replied, I'm good on training. We're going to put him in obedience anyways. Good. um, hey, I just watched your video on why I don't mark all rewards. In that video, towards the end, your dog got irritated, annoyed. You did say your dog was tired, but is behavior like that permitted? Irritated? What are you talking about? He's. I'm not sure what you're talking about by that. I mean, he's generally a pretty irritable dog. If you mean all the growling and barking and stuff like that, I encourage a lot of that behavior because I know that's how he wants to be, and that allows him to be all he can be. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure with that video what you're speaking about, to be honest with you. Outlaw, top tier information from your channel. Thank you. I appreciate it, my friend. Sodium, O'Malley has bitten me. First time he has had an testos implant 3 weeks ago. He got more aggressive. Sodium, I think there's a little bit of a language barrier, my friend. I don't really understand what that means. What am I feeding my dogs? I feed my dogs Royal Canin. We also feed some of our dogs raw. My personal competition dog eats Royal Canin because I like to use kibble a lot in my training. Hillary asks. Hillary is one of our elite members that actually also has one of our dogs. So Hillary is someone that has really been a big part of our training and our program here, and we appreciate Hillary. From your work with Bolo, what is the benefit to being able to do obedience with the ball already in their mouth? So I like dogs to be willing to carry the toy in the mouth when they're doing positions and when they're asked to do different types of obedience. It gives the dog an outlet. So I'll give you this example, Hillary. So I have a Malinois. I don't show her a lot, but Dizzy, the Malinois, she's a very nervy kind of dog, very sensitive, very nervous dog. And when I get in public with her, and we don't often because you know where we live. We're in a very rural area. But when I take her in public, she just gets so nervous about different things. So giving her the ability to hold the ball in her mouth and do all the obedience and be next to me, so it gives her that outlet, and it keeps her a little happier. It keeps her in a better mindset, and she's able to kind of, she gets a little anxious. You'll see her start to do a little choo-choo, and I can reach down, grab the ball, and play a little tug with her just to bring her up a little bit. So it's useful from that perspective. And then the other perspective I like is it's just a higher level of obedience, right? And I feel like that helps me when I translate over to protection, right? If the dog's willing because a lot of dogs, when they have something in their mouth, right, especially working dogs, it puts them in a higher state of arousal. So when I'm able to channel that dog into obedience, even with the thing in his or her mouth, and then take them in and out of play without them dropping the toy, it further increases the control that the dog has and the responsiveness the dog has. So I like it for multiple reasons. Um, Manson asks, "What's been your experience with American Bulldogs doing protection work?" So I like. I mean, look, I've seen some real gangster American Bulldogs. If you get a good one, I would say that they're real nice dogs for personal protection work. They're real nice dogs for pigs. If you're hunting pigs, there's some real nice American Bulldogs out there. Of all the off breeds, I think they're probably the off breed. Especially when we're getting into the Bulldogs and the Pressas and the Corsos and stuff like this. I think they're the off breed that probably has the most effective dogs available from a working perspective. How do I feel about the dogo in protection work? Generally useless. And unfortunately, I don't know any good source. Is it better to buy older dogs for sport? Um, so most of the top competitors buy older dogs. They buy a dog that's been too much for somebody, or a dog that one of their connections gets them a line on. A lot of people buy the older dogs because, of course, there's less of a what's the word? There's less of a crapshoot. You know the health, you know the temperament, you know the drive, you know the quality of the dog. But there are certainly also a lot of competitors that like to start with puppies. So Shanice says, my trainer, or sorry, my decoy trainer is working the dog. So this is the dog you're saying he's not civil, he's sleeve oriented. He's very fired up when the sleeve comes out, but he doesn't have the same intensity in civil. That basically means without the sleeve. My trainer has to come up and pop him. Well, Shanice, I'll say this. So dogs that generally are only able to work with the sleeve present could be a couple things. It can be a nerve issue. There are some dogs that the second it stops being a game, they just, the going gets tough, they get going. And then for some dogs, especially really high prey type dogs, if they don't perceive that they can bite you, um, they look for something that they can bite. So if the dog's only ever bit a sleeve, and he's been trained a certain way, he might perceive that it's only possible for him to bite the sleeve. So what you need to do is you need to open his mind to the alternate possibilities that he can bite, you know, more than just a sleeve. And many dogs, when you open that can of worms and you show them, hey, you can bite a lot more than the sleeve. It's like a little light bulb goes off in their head, and all of a sudden they start looking for other things to bite. And it's relatively simple to teach, and your decoy should be able to do it. The solution to a dog being sleeve oriented is not necessarily to put pressure on the dog. Sometimes it's to show the dog, that he can bite another part of the body. Again, it depends on what you're actually doing. Like if you're doing IGP, maybe that's a different story. But if you're doing, personal protection work or street type, bite work, then of course your dog should have the perception that he can bite any part of the body, and that he doesn't need to see visible equipment in order to do so. But that would be your decoy's job to show him that and to empower him to be able to do that. Can I recommend any good dog books? I just finished Dog Language and an Encyclopedia of Canine Behavior. My main goal is to understand the dog. Anyone can go through the motions and not understand. No, John, unfortunately, I cannot. I've not read any dog book that really turned my crank, so to speak. I have mostly finished a book, but I guess that's a topic for another day. Um, Hey, has any suggestions for dealing with male on male aggression? Got caught in a fight between my males the other day and was lucky to get out with only a couple stitches on my finger. Yeah, those really suck. It depends on the breed, like if you got something like two bull mastiffs or two Rotties or something like that, just you're gonna have to move one of those males out. Um, I would say that uh, the solution is always a lot of structure, okay? A lot of structured obedience, both inside and outside the home. You've got to manage resources very carefully. You cannot allow them to compete for anything. And resources are more than just food or bones. Resource can be anything. It can be affection, can be space, It can be a toy, right? So you have to be aware of these things. D says, no dog questions. Just want to say it's nice to see you back on the live chat. I appreciate that. Someone says, real working line German Shepherds, bite force equals screaming and bleeding. Exactly. Like, if you get bit by a dog that has commitment, you're not questioning the bite force. um, question has, going to evaluate a 3-year-old high energy female bully for rescue that has suddenly become aggressive to a 1.5-year-old Akita in the home. You think it sounds like a lack of discipline? I mean, it could be. The problem with bullies is always arousal. Anything bully, pit bull, generally speaking, it's an arousal issue. Those dogs do not handle arousal well. When they become aroused, aggression is much more likely. Their threshold for aggression is way lower when they're in a high state of arousal. So, generally speaking, it is an arousal issue. Sometimes it can be issues within the home where the dogs are being again placed in positions where they're competing with one another or one dog's picking on another one, so on and so forth. Alan, nice to see you in here, buddy. I'm probably way behind on the comments. um, Alan's asking me, I'd like to get your method on a force fetch. Depends for what, Alan. Are you talking like a dumbbell or a bumper? Not something I could really say in a live. It's like it's a bit of a process. Um, do you think getting the runt of a litter is in any way bad? No, I don't, Chris. I think oftentimes runts grow to be just the same, if not sometimes even bigger than the rest of the. That's what I've seen in my experience, anyways. Um, Angie says, I watch. Angie's the one with the wolf Malinois. I watch a lot of your videos and I appreciate all your work. If I was in Canada, I'd bring Draco to you. I just got my finger stapled back together 2 weeks ago from a play bite. Well, if he opened your hand, um, I don't think he was playing, or he's not taking enough care when he is playing. So, certainly something you should see a professional trainer about. I would recommend. Previous board and train customer, is there an age you recommend to teach an out? It's not about an age. It's about the commitment of the dog. So if I'm playing with a dog and he doesn't really want to play with the toy and it's falling out of his mouth, and if I tug on it, it comes right out of his mouth, I'm not going to teach him an out because it's not necessary. But if he's showing commitment and desire and possession to hold that toy, then it's time to teach him out. So it's not about age. It's about, like, Bolo's a 6-month-old puppy. I put an out on him, right? Um, does it hurt when you get bit in a hidden sleeve? Yes, it does. Robert says, I'm a trainer. I use a lot of your techniques in my classes. Thank you. My question is, do you recommend staying with one training technique? Can you use different methods with different trainers? Um, I don't know, Robert, quite what you mean there. What's one training technique? Like, I have a rough system that I work from, and like I'll flex the system depending on what I'm doing. I have multiple tools and multiple methodologies for achieving specific behaviors or dealing with specific behaviors. Um, so like I'm not wedded to a training technique. I'm wedded to what works. So I hope that answers your question. In the video, I believe you. So this is back to that video where I was working with Gage. You're saying that at the 11:20 mark, he jumped towards my face, wondering if that. Oh yeah, I let him jump on my face. I let him bark at me. I let him do all that kind of stuff. It just makes him feel more confident and puts him in a higher state of arousal, which I like to use in the obedience. Do I have any plans to make an IGP tracking course? Ty, I do not right now. I think there are other people out there that are in a better position to make that course. I have some personal goals in tracking that I need to achieve first before I ever make an online course for that. I've always noticed, aside from the Czech army, the people trying to make working wolf dogs have no working dog experience. Skyforger Prac, the Czech army uses working line German Shepherds and Malinois. There's no wolf dogs in the army. I know there's this weird like idea, this Czech wolf dog, and it's nonsense. I have a Canna Corso female. She is completely different dog inside versus outside. She's terrified when away from the safety of the home. Yes, that's very normal. A lot of the Mastiffs are not good away from the home. They struggle away from the home, but at home they're actually quite powerful. But that's normal for the breed. I want to take your group training, and my boy is pretty good basic obedience. Do you guys do assessments at all to see if he's up to your standard to maybe start a level two if he doesn't need level one? Yeah, we will. We do that. I've never had anyone pass though. I'm in British Columbia, and in the protection course, do you know any working dog breeders here, or should I get one from Shield Canine Program? I can't recommend a breeder in BC just because I don't know any there. I'm not saying there isn't any bad ones. I just don't know of any there. Quick question has I have a 7-month-old male purebred Cane Corso who becomes aggressive when a dog passes by our front yard. Should I correct him with an e-collar or a Hermsprenger? You should correct him with neither, Yogi Bear. That is a bad idea, especially with a Cane Corso. That can go very south on you. The tool that you use to correct the dog is not as important as understanding why you're correcting dog, how to correct the dog, and laying the correct foundation with that dog in terms of obedience, so on and so forth. Hey, love your content. This is a super chat from ITZ Virus. I have a American Pit Bull Terrier, German Shepherd mix named Bruno, who's very alert. Is there any type of work he will shine in? Depends on your dog, my friend. I mean, there's all sorts of dog sport you can get involved in. There's fly ball, there's dock diving, there's agility. Go look around, see what interests you, and go and find it. There's not just based on that description. It's not going to tell me really much of anything about your dog. Um, PSA. So it's any object the day of trial. Cans, boxes, they change it up a lot. Um, Alan, I'm not sure what you're saying there, my friend. Okay, Maddie. Canine Behavior Basics, a guide to proven success of operant service dog training. Okay, she's recommending a book. So there's a book that Maddie recommends. Um, my Czech German Shepherd is extremely high sleep and prey drive with no alertness. So that's from Issa. Again, this a lot of this comes down to decoy work. Who are you working with? Um, you know, dogs can be sleeve, like I said, dogs can be fixated on the sleeve for a variety of reasons. And part of being a good decoy is knowing why and knowing how to fix it and deciding if you are going to fix it. So, like for instance, if I'm, let's say I'm working a service dog or a dog that's going to be on the street doing real bite work. Okay, if he wants to look at his preferred body part in order to take a grip, right? I don't need him to look in my face as a decoy. It's actually not all that necessary for me. I just need to see that he's committed to biting. So if that body part goes away, does he still show the commitment to bite another part of my body? So if I set myself up in a way where maybe I'm lying on my arm or something, will he come and nail me somewhere else? If I'm standing there without offering his preferred target, will he come and nail me somewhere else? In that case, great. If not, then yeah, we definitely have to fix that problem. Optimal Canine. I'm loving my Herder 3.0 puppy. Well, that's one of Bolo's siblings, so I sure hope you are because I really like them. I like all the ones that I've seen so far. I kept two males from that litter, and I'm very happy I did. What are some simple ways I can start gaining experience training dogs? This is from Peyton. Other than my own. As a 16-year-old in high school, I would see if I could go and volunteer at a local training facility, something like that. You know, friends' dogs. It's something where you've gotta find a way. If there's a will, there's a way. There's a lot of different potential options. There's not like one set way to do it. Nick Arnold asks, how much do German Shepherds chill out as they age? How does that look? Um, Chilling out completely depends on the dog. It's not something where I wait for age. Like any dog that lives in the house with me knows how to chill out. It's not something where I'm like, oh, I'll just wait till he's 10 years old to have some peace and quiet around here. That's just not something I do. Bobby says Gage is the Hamzat Chimaev of IGP. he is. He is not, unfortunately. I wish he was. um, Gage. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a fighter that he's more like. Uh, I can't think of one right now. Maybe I will later. I'm interested in becoming a breeder and just now bought my first pup, starting obedience training. How many years of experience do you suggest before you start the action? What are you breeding? What's your purpose for breeding? If you just got your first pup, I'd say you're a long way from breeding. Um, Shanice asks, podcast with Ivan Balabanov one day. I mean, anything's possible. That's up to him. He's a very it he's a very in-depth dog trainer. He goes on. He has some interesting podcasts for sure. Look, I got a lot of respect for the guy. I mean, as a dog trainer, how could you not, right? That's all. As for that, like I don't talk to him outside of some brief interactions on Facebook, so on and so forth. But I got a lot of respect for him. Tip on how to build confidence and play obedience, as you mentioned with Gage. My German Shepherd pup is solid with most commands now, but I would like to bring more out in her. Um, the tip, listen, when you play with a dog, every dog's different. Every dog likes something different. Some dogs like to hold the toy a lot in their mouth. Some dogs like to interact with you and the toy more. You got to find what the dog really loves, and then you've got to foster that and teach the dog that that thing that he or she loves happens in close proximity to you and nowhere else, right? So if I have a dog who likes to avoid me a lot with the toy, for instance, one thing I'll do is the second the dog like leaves me with the toy, I'll say out, and then I'll come close to the dog. Then I'll say, okay, you can take the toy again, and then I'll play with the dog. And then when I let go of the dog, if the dog leaves me instead of coming right back to me, immediately out again, right? So the dog learns if you go away from me, you have to let go of the toy. But if you have the toy and you bring it to me, you get to possess it for longer, and good things will happen depending on what the dog's perception of good things are. For some dogs, bringing it to you and you petting them and promoting them holding the toy is good. For many dogs, fighting with you and the toy is desirable. It all depends on the dog. You have to know what your dog particularly likes to do, and then you have to make that dog associate that fun thing with being in close proximity to you. Of course, Gage is a very kind of active and fiery dog with the ball. So he likes to hammer me with the ball, jump on me, and he'll like hold it always in close. Like he'll literally hug me and hold the ball in his mouth, and that's what he wants to do. Whereas Yaxi, my other dog, he's much more possessive of the ball. And he likes to just kind of bliss out with it in his mouth. So he'll bring it to me and stand in front of me and just be like very stiff and blissed out with that ball in his mouth. He's not so active with the ball the way Gage is. So every dog's a little bit different. Um, is there any good working line Rottweilers left? I know there are. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on the Rotties, so I don't know where you would get them. I've seen a few here and there. Yeah, a lot of you guys like the podcast with Larry. Yeah, it was a good podcast. I feel like Larry was chilling that day. We didn't get into too much of the spicy stuff, but yeah, it was certainly a good discussion we had on Facebook. It was lots of fun. Alan, you're asking about the force fetch and PSA. Um, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, here's force fetch in a nutshell. You make the dog slightly uncomfortable. You put the object in the dog's mouth. Most people usually will use like the pinch collar and create pressure on the pinch collar. They'll put something in the dog's mouth, and then once the dog has the thing in their mouth, they release the pressure, reward the dog. Rinse and repeat that a whole bunch of times. Then they get to the point where the dog will pick up the object, bring it to them, present it, receive the reward. And you basically just work your way from there. There's 100 free tutorials on YouTube on how to do force fetch in various different ways. But, the great thing is for PSA, the object is variable, but the dog doesn't have to grip it so strongly or present it so perfectly, right? So I'd certainly rather do a PSA fetch than an IGP dumbbell hold. Those are significantly more difficult in my opinion. Let's see here, guys. I watched a recent clip on marking during training. Does giving a reward without a verbal mark degrade impulse control? It can. That's from Yesenia Vals, who also has one of our dogs. It can degrade impulse control. Um, you can do it from time to time. Just don't do it too much with Nico. But Nico isn't a dog that's like crazy, like extreme prey that's going to nail you for the toy. So I would say you're pretty safe to kind of do that with him. How often do I groom my dogs? I never groom my dogs. um, just got a German Shepherd puppy from the Czech. This is from Omar. Doesn't react to whip or loud noises, but is kind of timid around big dogs. Every dog's afraid of something. Every dog's, especially young dogs, going to be nervous about something. Don't worry about it. Just guide them through life, my friend. That's all you can do. I've noticed in your videos it sounds like Gage has not met your expectations. No, he's met my expectations. It's I'm just honest about the dog. Like I'm not gonna say that the dog is King Kong reborn. I've seen King Kong. Gage is a good dog. He is not a great dog, right? There are dogs that are, like I've had people ask me to breed to him, right? Because they see him on YouTube and whatever else, and I guess he's somewhat well known. I like Gage. He's a good dog. He has his strengths and weaknesses. He is not King Kong reborn. He is not what I would consider to be the pinnacle of what a working dog should be. But he's a good dog and I like him and I'm going to work with him and I'm going to take him as far as I can possibly take him. Right? So I would say that he is what I always thought he was. And when Gage was a puppy and I decided to take him on and train with him, I said to myself, I don't care how this dog turns out. I'm going to do my very best with this dog, and I'm going to get him to, as far as I can possibly get him, regardless of his strengths or weaknesses. Skyforger Pack says, I'm going to have to get one of your hoodies soon. Well, they're available on the website, so check them out. Let me see here. Some of you guys like the aquarium? Yeah, it's fun. I think I'm gonna rejig it. I might go all like I have a whole bunch of cichlids in my basement, so I might rejig it and just put like 100 cichlids in there and do cichlid mayhem. Right now we've got kind of like a South American. I mean, it's the tank is it's in nighttime mode, but we got like a South American theme going right now, like kind of riverbed. The water's a little bit tea colored because of the driftwood. It's cool, but I don't know if I'm going to keep it like that. Um, what technique should I use to correct my Rottweiler reactivity? Take my reactive dog course. It'll probably help you come up with a good solution to that problem. Um, Sarah's asking about how intense she should play with her dog. As intense as your dog likes, I find that a lot of dogs really like super intense play, and most people don't go hard enough. Um, let's see here. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking at my battery life, and it would appear that I might get cut off here soon. So just so you know if that's what happens. Let's see here. How's Victor? Him and the dog of your friend that you helped train for BH and IGP are my favorites. So you're talking about Vasco. Um, Victor is no longer with us. He was purchased by somebody a while ago. Um, I do regret selling him, especially to that individual. I'll leave it at that. But he is alive and well. Let's see here. I picked up Cody the rescue yesterday from Board and Train. He is like a new dog. Your trainers are absolutely amazing. Thanks to Hef and Sema. Yeah, they're really good. That's from Melissa. Cody, Cody was a bit of a challenge, but certainly not our first rodeo with a dog like Cody. He's not that bad, and I hope that you're able to utilize the new tools and training that he has to live a better life with him and help him be all he can be. What's your opinion on hand signals? They're great. Dogs are primarily nonverbal communicators, so it's much easier to actually teach them hand signals than it is to teach them um, actual obedience commands. Can you name some of the King Kong dogs you've worked with? Well, Vasco's one of them. That's the one that comes to mind right now. He is a badass dog. You know, if I'm judging quality of dog, I would say that Onyx was certainly a lot stronger than Gage in some ways. Um, in others, Gage certainly measures up to his dad. But Vasco for me is probably the strongest male German Shepherd currently that I've met in the province of Ontario. I haven't seen one that's better yet. Um, I'm always got my eye out because when it comes to breeding a dog, I'm totally agnostic. I'll breed to any dog that I think is the best dog out there. So right now for me, I would say there are obviously internationally well known dogs that people view as being top tier, super dogs. Dogs like Cody von Wolfsried, dogs like Knox von Tallhouse, you know, uh, lots of dogs, right? You can look them up and see. Would you recommend building a good kennel and buying shelter dogs to train and rehome for experience? I mean, it's not a bad idea as long as you are confident that you can place those dogs once you've trained them, right? It's not easy to place some of these shelter dogs. Let me tell you, especially with all the problems they have. Because when you train a dog like that, you're not really changing the dog fundamentally. You're putting things in place that give you the ability to inhibit the bad behavior, but at the same time, the people that take that dog on, that's why I don't really like doing training for rescues because generally speaking, the people that take those dogs on need to be willing and able to do those things that you've done in order to maintain the behavior of the dog and prevent the bad behavior. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Um, do you think I can SAR and do protect? I don't know anything about SAR, so I can't say that you can or cannot do that. Um, let's see here. How is Hendrix? Hendrix is good. We sold Hendrix to a gentleman that does drug detection, I believe, or is it bomb detection? A long time ago. So he's doing well. Where can I purchase your pants? I see you wearing in your videos. Roberta, I should say. You can buy those from Eric Outdoor USA. What about Lucifer and Rex? Where do they rank? Um, I would say, well, Rex was certainly King Kong. I didn't train the dog. I just worked him a few times. Lucifer's a very strong dog as well. They're very different dogs. But from a breeding standpoint, I like Lucifer a lot more. From a working standpoint, I mean, Rex was certainly much more intimidating, but they're both badass dogs. They're both top tier dogs. Do I know Vasco's parents? Yeah, everybody knows Vasco's parents. Well, we know his daddy. You can look up his daddy. There's YouTube videos of his daddy. Um, why is there a big difference between male and female presses? Well, it's not just male and female presses, male and female any dog. Um, male testosterone makes a difference, guys. That's all I can tell you. It makes a difference. So there is a big difference. Was Danger a King Kong dog? You're referring to uh, the Dutchie we had. Danger was a very dangerous dog to handle. He had decent working quality, but it certainly wasn't high enough that I would say that he was a King Kong dog. He was a little bit nervy in the bite work, not enough that he wouldn't mess you up, but enough that for me to say a dog is King Kong, that dog has to have hardness. That dog has to demonstrate excellence in every part of the work. Um, Drive, power, all those things. So if that dog shows like a weakness somewhere, Danger was extremely handler aggressive, and he was a very, very dominant dog with the handler, and just an asshole of a dog. But his bite work was good, but it wasn't good enough that I would say he's King Kong. Let's see here. I have a date tomorrow night. Any advice? That's from Nick. Nick, prioritize your happiness, my friend. You know, you know who you are. You know what you're worth, and don't have a scarcity mindset. That's my advice for you. Think to yourself. In an ideal world, is this somebody that I could have a relationship with? Is this somebody that is worth my time to spend with them, so on and so forth? And I don't know any other gems that I have. It's been a long time since I've been on a date with anyone other than my wife, so I'm a little bit out of practice, to be honest with you. But good luck, Nick. Good luck. Maybe bring an e-collar. Do a workshop. Do a workshop for dog trainers from the Maritimes. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Let's see. All right, guys. Yes, I appreciate all of that. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm glad you guys liked the videos. It's been a while since I did a live, so it's nice that I checked in with y'all. Um, and it's been fun. I'll see y'all later. You guys have fun with your dogs. Happy training, and I'll see y'all later.